Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from Challenge Daytona. We're brought to you by Toyota, the Daytona International Speedway, the NASCAR Foundation, the YMCA, and the City of Daytona Beach. Our next guest, really one of our favorite guys on the planet, and a gentleman who has ridden a lot of laps around this track, Mr. Andrew Starykowicz. How you doing, Stark?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Bob?
I am spectacular.
I'm happy to see you here.
You know what? This is the first time I've been here, and
Okay.
my producer, John, is a big-time motor guy.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking his dad was into drag racing and all that type of stuff,
Okay.
so we're doing a hot lap at noon.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about this place, because you know the history here.
Yeah, I mean, some of my earliest memories. The earliest race that I can physically remember watching is 1988. Coming off of turn 4, there you had Richard Petty barrel rolled down the tri-oval. And then it has probably one of the coolest finishes still to this day. It wasn't that close of a finish.
Perfect.
It wasn't that close of a finish, but it was a father-son, Davey Allison, Bobby Allison race to the finish line. So, I mean, definitely it was a memorable day. It was just so... You know, it was a spectacular. It was a spectacular memory, and I mean, I can remember nearly every year.
So you're a NASCAR guy.
Oh yeah,
big time.
I mean, when I was younger, I was more Indy cars.
Right.
So I mean, I remember stuff from like '85.
Well, you're a
87.
Midwest guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I was definitely loved the IndyCar series, but in '96 when IndyCar went through their split, I was disheartened that in open wheel of all sorts, and at that time, you know, even Formula One at that time wasn't all that competitive.
No.
It was being completely dominated. So I moved over, and ever since then, I've always dabbled in NASCAR, but in '96, it was, you know, I became a huge fan of NASCAR.
And so riding here on this track for the first time, was that last year?
Yeah, last year was the first time I got to actually physically ride on the track. And yeah, it's a spectacular thing. Just like, you know, people talk about the butterflies of going through the tunnel and coming up into here, and, you know, the walls.
Right.
Or not the walls, but the banking are like walls around you, and it truly is. And then, you know, especially the new stadium type front straightaway they have is just something spectacular. It's awesome.
When you ride out here, have you, during a race, I'm imagining you don't go up the bank, but in training, have you gone up the bank just to check it out?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can, what you do is you get a good head of steam, you can coast up the banking and then back down. You physically cannot pedal through the turn.
No way.
You'll just catch a pedal. It'd be like, you know, no matter how fast you go. Well, I'm sure there's at some point you can go fast enough, but not on a bicycle. So, yeah, it's crazy to fathom the speeds, the G-forces, and all that stuff that, you know, the guys for the 24 hours, the guys for the Daytona 500 and the Pepsi 400, Firecracker 400, whatever it's called these days, you know, or each year it changes. But yeah, it's spectacular.
So you were sick in Kona this year, couldn't start the race.
No.
And when we were talking earlier in the week, I think you might have had a premonition because you were already talking Florida.
Yeah.
You're already saying that, hey, you know, 'cause it's not often that someone is 5 days out from Kona and talking about, okay, this is sort of, I'm just going to try to get through this and hopefully go win Florida.
Yeah, it was, I gotten sick shortly after, what was it, Nice.
Yes.
And I just had bounced around and I hadn't really trained since Nice. I've been sick. I've just been trying to get healthy, and I mean, I had slowly been getting better, but I mean, still, every time I couldn't take a deep breath. It was shallow breathing, everything, and I really training had been non-existent, and it was as I got closer to the race, it's like I was feeling better, but it's still I mean, to race at a world championship or any type of professional race these days, you have to be 100%. And I mean,
the fields are too good. Yeah,
and if you're racing completely restricted airway, you don't have a shot at having, you know, you
can't fake that.
Right, you can't fake it. And I mean, you know, when I went and saw, I had a chest x-ray, you know, and I got home from Kona and all that stuff, I mean, they basically said if you would have started the race, you would have ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, it was a hard decision to make, but it was a very clear decision to make. It wasn't, I don't have any regrets of going back and saying if I would have or should have or done this. It was I didn't have an option.
It's like Sebastian said during our interview earlier in the week. There's a fine line between being fit and being effed.
Yes,
Right?
yes. That's one of his famous quotes. He said actually said that for quite a few years, and it's racing, and the fact of the matter is I showed up to Kona and I showed up healthy, healthy physically, because I've been to Kona physically, and so often we battle injuries over the summer, injuries all the way up until race day, and to actually have to show up physically 100%, and mentally I kind of know where I would have. Mentally watching that whole race and just watching it unfold, I kind of saw how the day I would have had and where I would have ended up. So,
what do you think you would have ended up?
I think I would have stayed.
Because there's some good win this year.
Yeah, I would have stayed with that lead group until about midway point in the swim.
Yeah,
and then I would have ended up completely isolated. And I don't know whether I would have. Just one more body would have brought a few more people from that second pack up, or whether I would have been far, in that front pack and caused one or two guys like Alanga to drop off the back, and we would have been in no man's land between those two groups.
Right.
I know I would not have made it out of the water with that lead group, but definitely I was fit enough to be. I was quick enough to easily pull that second group and be faster than it.
Right.
So I would have been in no man's land somewhere in the middle, and I would have pedaled my tush off to jump up and I would have bridged that gap. I would have caught that lead group. I think I would have been, seeing what Jan did at the end. I don't think there was any shot I could have dropped a guy like Jan.
No.
And then the way T.O. rode, I think, those guys would have been, we would have been a little further ahead than they were, because we would have had just having that other body, a little more power there. But then at the, on that run, it rained overnight and it was humid, and, it's my Antichrist.
Yeah.
And so I think I would have probably, possibly been somewhere between 6th and 10th place if I would have had a great run and really just controlled the day. But, it was, I'm not going to say it was, I can't say it was frustrating. It was a reality check that, hey, this is, but it was also interesting to watch how the race unfolded, because, the women's race is starting to unfold how the women's race at Kona is starting to unfold like a normal men's race.
Where you get some people off the front.
Where you get some people off the front, and then you have the pack tactics.
Right.
And again, you had a group of three, which determined who won the race. I guarantee if Lucy would have had somebody in front of her for 50 miles, there would have been a different winner at Kona. But Annie got to sit behind one or two other women for 50 or 70 miles, and
so I'm similar to like a Patrick.
Yeah, and then it's just saving that much energy. That's it's drafting. Hey, we're at the world center of drafting right here.
Right.
So and I'm not saying that she was cheating or anyone was cheating. It's just the element of the rules, and that's how the game is played. And but then in the men's race, now they're at the top of the sport. There's so many good bikers. There's so many good swimmers. There's so many good runners, and there's so many. But now we've gone from having those one sport specialties. Now all the guys are everybody's good at all three sports.
Got to be good.
And so there's one or two guys that are stronger on the bike, one or two guys that are stronger on the run, but you got to have all three. And so now you're going to get these packs of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and that's how I think. Moving forward, I think we're going to see a lot more of that for the professional men's race for the coming years.
So last year at this race, you got second.
Yes.
And you outsplit Cam on the bike?
Oh, yeah. The thing is everybody thinks, Cam is a great biker.
He's
I'll agree with that.
Professional cyclist, yeah.
But his engine is so much more geared for the Ironman distance. And he'll readily admit. At the half Ironman distance, I can move.
You can put time into
I can put time into him significantly.
Yeah.
And I did that here. I think it was quite a few minutes.
Right. Actually, it's funny because I asked him. I thought because he's such a great bike handler, I thought Nice would be a good course, and he was like, it's too short.
Yeah,
it don't matter how much climbing; it's just too short for him.
Right, and that's it. He is an Ironman athlete. He's a specialist at it. He's geared his body towards that. I was talking with Eric actually earlier today of that. There was a period of time where I raced I think it was 2014. I raced 11 races, and I raced sprint distance, Olympic distance, half Ironman,
Yes.
full Ironman. I raced all 4 distances, and I finished top 5 all 4 distances within a single year. And
People don't do that anymore.
We don't do anything like that anymore.
No, and if you think back, the Mark Allens and Dave said that era, because there weren't that many races.
Right.
They were doing the USTS series, and there weren't that many Ironmans.
Right.
And you had an Ironman, and then you had a Wildflower, and people
Wildflower
did
was
everything.
your half Ironman,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, just 5 years ago, or not 5 years ago, it would be more like 10 years ago now, the 70.3 distance hardly existed.
No, yeah.
There were maybe 10 races around the world
Right.
at the half Ironman distance.
Well,
pretty
especially in
much.
Europe, they're like, what's 70.3 mean?
Exactly. and now it's, the most competitive distance in the world.
Because now, what I love about that distance is you've got the Olympic guys stepping up, like we saw in Nice. You got the Ironman guys coming down,
Yep.
and then you got the 70.3 people.
Right.
And so it's really hard to predict who's going to win the thing because it's so dependent on that day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most competitive distance. It's always.
Is that your favorite distance?
I don't know. My favorite distance is still the Olympic distance, but
Right, yeah,
we
because
can't.
you can't make a living
Olympic
anymore, yeah.
distance, non-drafting, you can't make a living at
No.
anymore. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like that one. We pretty much you're on the limit the whole entire time. We're here. I mean, this Daytona distance, I really like this one because it's halfway between the Olympic distance and the half Ironman distance. So it's. You got a little more bike, a little more
Right.
run, and the same swim as an Olympic distance. So, but I got to say, as I've gotten older, I've let that swim speed go and focused on the bike and run because
Right.
I mean, in a half and a full, those are far more important. And so, every time I race a guy like Eric or Dylan McNeese, and there's a couple of them
Yeah.
out there that are just rifles in the water. It's just like God, I don't pull water that hard anymore.
So, in terms of riding 15 loops around this course,
Yes.
right? What's the challenge of that? I mean, what makes this course different from others besides the fact that obviously you're doing 15 laps? But in terms of mentally, is there a place you want to be on the track? Talk a little bit about the ride itself.
The ride here is very unique because there is no breaking of pace. There's no turns. There's nothing. You are
Right.
locked in narrow position for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And you are pedaling. And you're pushing the pedals every single time. If you get a good wind, I mean, last year we had a really good wind. So, I mean, we were going at the end of the back straightaway. I think I was 37, 38 miles an hour. But, I mean, then you were crawling up the main straightaway here because you had that same 30-plus mile an hour wind
Right.
in your face. But, if you have a calm day like we had this morning, we had a calm ride this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, for a guy like Lionel, this is his specialty. It's like riding a trainer. He can just sit there and pedal, and
Right.
there's no technical aspect to it. There's no, it's basically a true time.
You
It's a
and
true time trial.
you and your power meter.
Yeah, you and your element, however you want to do it, and there's really not many. It's a true time trial.
Yeah.
So there's not really that much. There's really not many variables, I guess I would say.
So this last year Cam Worth was here. This year you got Lionel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always fun. I know you like going against the other top cyclists.
Yeah, I mean, Lionel's very good. I mean, it's always fun to race, a guy like him. I haven't raced him in a number of years,
Right.
but it's kind of off-putting. I mean, like we're all out there riding, and I pretty much talked with everybody, and Lionel, I kind of wave to Lionel as he goes by, and he just grunts and rides by, and it really doesn't make sense to me that hey, I mean, even the camaraderie is there with all the other athletes, but I don't know why Lionel feels the need to grunt.
You guys
and
aren't
ride
buddies.
off. No. I mean, I've definitely always been very, to try to have a conversation with him and everything.
So you want to kick his ass?
I always want to beat him, but it's very off-putting in the sport. That you have guys that that are that way because it's
Interesting.
I mean. Yeah, I come off like a jerk sometimes, but yeah, I'm always
Never.
very conversational.
Come on now, you're my favorite conversationalist.
It was interesting because I mean, all of us are out there riding, like, holy cow, this is incredible, and You know, it was fun to catch up with a lot of the athletes this morning, because so often we're doing our pre-race rides all in separate parts of the, from whatever hotel we have, and it's never do you get to actually just, go out here and ride,
with the other guys.
Ride, yeah. I mean, we're all within 2 miles of each other all day, so it's
what I
fun.
love about this type of, about this sport is, the ITU stuff. I think it's a lot more the position you happen to be here. The best person's going to win tomorrow, right?
Right.
The best person's going to win.
Oh, yeah.
This is the ultimate time trial.
Right.
And so in terms of having that mentality.
I mean, this is the easiest place to officiate. You can sit right here.
I can watch the whole day.
Officiate the whole entire track.
I know. I can watch you guys.
Yeah.
Right. This is what we want to do, is hang out all day long. And it looks like there's 500,000 people in the stands, even though there's not one person out there.
Hopefully I'll feel like there's 500,000 people watching and kind of give you that little extra boost.
So for you, with everything you've overcome the last few years, getting run over by a truck, getting your back broken, your little boy Xander turning blue three different times that you had to, and while you're in basically a body cast, you had to do CPR on your little boy to keep him alive. Was he 10 days old or something like that?
First time was 10 days old.
10 days old. Does it make this sport just more enjoyable, the fact that, this is such a great escape? Yeah, I want to win, but it's not as important because I've got real life issues that I'm dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, it's, just having the whole, just the family, we all travel here for this race.
So you got all of them are here.
The whole crew's here. So.
And that doesn't happen that often, right?
Yeah, usually about twice a year. I mean, the two races, they went to 4 races, 3 or 4 races. They went to 3 races last year. So, and my daughter reminds me all the time that last year I didn't have a good race at Kona.
Because kids weren't there.
Well, no, they were.
Oh, they were there?
Last year, not this year.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good race at Kona, but, they definitely remember when I win races. And my daughter talks about how, she got to taste champagne, at Waco last year. And the teacher's like, what's going on here? And she's like, well,
Daddy, you want to race?
Well, yeah, no, TJ sprayed me, and my daughter was like right there and got like champagne all over her. And then she like licked it off her arm. It's what the story becomes. But yeah, it's really sweet. I don't like it. But yeah, I got all of a sudden.
She goes to show and tell and goes, I was drinking champagne this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm 5.
3 years old, 3 years old, and she's talking about spraying champagne. So,
nice.
Yeah, so I got the good parenting award there. But it's cool to share those memories.
Absolutely.
With them when they're young like that, and and it's fun when I'm working on the bikes in the basement. They want to be part of it, and my daughter and son know how to press in a bottom bracket bearing. They know how to.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, well, they know how to do it. My son holds one side, and my daughter turns the crank on the other side, and they push it right in, and they get such a kick when one side's moving and the other side's not. My side's moving, and the other one gets upset because their side's not moving yet. So it's just fun to share these little things with them, and bring them around for races here and there, and I mean. It's just really cool to be able to, come here, bring them to this race, especially, I'm raising my daughter right, and she's a huge auto racing fan, so she's excited to be here.
So with when you look back on your career, and obviously you won a ton of different races, is there one race that means the most to you? That you won, it might not even be a win, just a race that basically told you that, I could be really good at this.
There's a few. There's a few.
Okay.
Definitely Steelhead, 2017, because
that was coming back, right?
Yeah, it was all. I never thought I'd race again, even in the spring of 2017.
Yeah, I mean, you were. People don't know how close you were to potentially, and I think that's when I saw that photo of you with Lauren Parker.
Yes.
I got a little teary. Because the reality is you could look at both your spines and they could look exactly the same.
Right.
She's in a wheelchair, you're not.
Right. And I think that 2017 race was one of them. Cold Turkey, my first Iron Distance race, and win that one with Rev 3 Cedar Point. Was on the 10th anniversary of September 11th. Was extremely special.
Yeah.
And then, I think those would have to be the top two.
Yeah, I remember when you won that Steelhead race.
Yeah, Steelhead was.
That you showed more emotion than I think I've ever seen you show.
That
in a race.
one still chokes me up. I just, I mean, when it's all been taken away, and then all of a sudden, you do
back.
something like that, it's awesome. And then I got to say, but also this to win on the 10th anniversary of September 11th, and fly the American flag across the line was pretty awesome too.
Did you have a point where you didn't know if you'd ever race again?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's been a couple of those in my career. I had, post Abu Dhabi, I had one.
Oh, that's right.
And then definitely there was a long period of time
After I got
run over. It was, I towed the line at Ironman Texas in April of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even in March of 2017, it was still touch and go of walking with. I still don't walk without a limp.
You still walk with a limp?
I still walk with a limp. If you watch me walk, like people are like,
your running looks okay though.
Like people ask me, are you okay? I'm like, or are you injured? I'm like, no, this is just how I walk these days.
Wow.
I just.
You've got an imbalance there that'll be there forever.
Yeah, you're not supposed to break your leg and break your back.
At the same. And come back and be a professional triathlete.
Yeah, or come back, period. So, so there's been a couple of races that have been just pretty awesome, and but it's taken a long time to just. I kind of feel just now at the end of this summer is I'm finally getting back to the form that I had in that 2013 time frame when I was healthy and really racing well. End of 2013, spring of 2014, and so I feel like I'm finally getting back into that area. The end of this season's been kind of jumbled up because being sick, and it's amazing. I mean, if people would you rather be sick or injured? I'm like, well,
it's a bad comment. It's not really a good choice.
Like injured. When you're injured, you're always working on getting healthy.
Right.
So every day you're trying to get better than you were yesterday.
Right.
When you're sick, you're just like on a ride. And it's like a roller coaster.
You have to
ride.
wait. You just have to wait. You can't do anything.
Yeah, you're very limited on what you can do, and so it's been just a very after Ironman Florida, I was sick for another weekend or 2.5 weeks.
And you got third there. And Joe Skipper had a phenomenal race.
Joe Skipper, Ben Hoffman both had a phenomenal race.
And the 2:36 marathon for Ben.
I saw him. I saw him on the first loop of the run, and he was way behind me. I don't even remember what the split was, but it's like, wow, he's way back there. But holy shit, he's running fast.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, okay. And then I start thinking, I'm like, okay, because I've done this before, and I've gone through the same thing. I'm like, okay. Think back when you saw Victor Del Corral in 2013 and he ran the 2:37. Where did you see him the first time? And I'm thinking, I saw him he was entering the park when I was leaving the park the first time.
Yeah.
So Ben's closer than Victor was.
And he looks like he's running just as well.
He's running just as well. So, okay, so we'll see what happens. And then when I came around the half marathon turnaround and I saw how fast Ben was still running and how well Joe was running, I'm just like,
didn't you guys just do an Ironman a couple weeks ago? What the hell?
Well, both of them. Top 6 at fourth and sixth at Kona.
Yeah.
I guess they must have had a chip on their shoulder about not getting a Kona
podium
spot.
Right? Yeah.
But I would have. Oh, man, those guys just to have the day they had at Kona and then to follow it up with what they did at Florida is I think. I think you're hard pressed to find a span of 2 races within a month that 2 people had such a good performance within two races within a month.
My concern on that is always the fact that when you start stringing together world-class performances within a few months, it's hard to you can sometimes burn out, right? Your body we'll see what happens.
Good thing they got all winter to recover.
They can recover.
Ben's in his what he likes to call his Hoff season, but I'm looking forward to seeing, and because it's interesting, every athlete's different.
Yes.
And it's adjustment, especially with having your first kid. That he's going to spend the off season with the baby girl.
Yeah.
And now, then all of a sudden, here we are in a month or 2 or 2 months, 3 months when he's got to start
training again.
He wants to start getting on that bike, but that smiling face and it's right there. It's like
hard to leave town. Yeah.
I'm just going to snuggle with her a little bit longer, and you start missing workouts, and Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's hard.
It's a challenge.
It's another part of the energy pie, right? The pie doesn't get any bigger. You smaller slices,
yes,
right?
Yes. So
remember that, yeah.
I'll be interested to see how they how Ben adjusts to it. And
Exactly.
I mean, different pros have adjusted differently. I mean, some of them seem to it doesn't faze them. Some of them seem to elevate their game, and some of them just seem that
Right.
it's their undoing.
So here we are at Daytona, and I know you're a big Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights fan.
Yes.
And this is your element, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this is about as good as it gets when it gets to racing triathlon. I mean,
Your combo, yeah.
the spectator aspect that you can pretty much you can watch us swim in Lake Lloyd right here.
Right.
And then literally we do not leave here, this area.
No.
So, any age grouper that wants to stick around or any fan that wants to come out, they can literally watch the whole race unfold. And normally to watch a race unfold, you're relying on a couple cameras and some tweets or some
Yes.
splits on the
Yes.
on the tracker. You get to watch. You can take splits. Pretty much you can see who's going forward or who's going backwards, how the race is unfolding. I mean, to have a venue like this, I think is awesome. Hopefully we get some more of them that are like this because
There's a lot of tracks out there.
Yeah, but you can watch these races unfold, and I think that's something that we don't get to do very often in triathlon because you're just reliant on on
You're out
TV
them-
coverage.
they're out by Kauai now.
Right, exactly, and you got a helicopter and two cameras. So
Right, yeah.
to hear that you're gonna be able to get everybody to come by 15 times and then an additional 2 or 3 on the run, I think is
very cool.
anybody who gets to come out and watch it tomorrow night, it's a treat. And Nighttime. First ever race under the lights. Is this the first ever try under the lights that you know of?
It could be. You know what? I think it might be because you're swimming. Not usually you're swimming. What swim starts at like 4 or something.
It's 4:30 or something.
4:30.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, and you'd be
I'm
riding.
a little out of my element. I mean, I'm a morning person. I'm
know,
up early
I
in the
know.
morning. I mean, 4:30 in the afternoon is going to be a.
It's like when do you eat during the day and all that. Type
Well,
of stuff.
normally I'm getting ready to make dinner because my
Right.
kids eat dinner at 5:30. So 4:30, I'm already thinking
done.
about dinner. Yeah, the hay's in the barn and I'm ready for dinner. But we'll see tomorrow night.
Love it,
how that
Starkey.
does.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you for always taking so much time and everything that you've overcome is. I get choked up every time I think about Steelhead. Every time I think about Little Xander and
Well, thank you.
all the great things you've done. And I know there's a lot more to come.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Andrew Starykowicz has been our guest. Everybody, hold on. We will be right back.